না অস্মিতা, এবার শুরু করো।
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I think তোমাদের last class you had a class on today's topic, that is safety psychology, measuring organizational health, safety attitude, and accident proneness, including Jamovi applications of chi-square regression and visualization of organizational safety data. So today I will be delving into the theoretical aspect of this topic. সেটার জন্য first and foremost, we need to understand what is safety psychology. What do you think is safety psychology? তোমাদের কি মনে হয় সেফটি সাইকোলজিতে কি কি ডোমেইনস আছে, বা কি ব্রড ব্রাঞ্চের আন্ডারে সেফটি সাইকোলজি আসে? কেউ বলতে পারবে? এনিওয়ান? আচ্ছা, ওকে, আই অ্যাজিউম কেউ আনসার জানে না। So, safety psychology is a specialized area within industrial and organizational psychology that studies how human behavior, attitudes, cognitive processes, and organizational culture influence workplace safety. So, let us understand the different components of safety psychology. Safety psychology তাহলে কি বলছে এখানে? That it studies how human behavior, আমরা কিভাবে বিহেভ করছি, অ্যাটিটিউডস, আমাদের অ্যাটিটিউডস কি টুয়ার্ডস আওয়ার ওয়ার্ক প্লেস, টুয়ার্ডস আওয়ার ওয়ার্ক, অ্যান্ড আমাদের কগনিটিভ প্রসেসেস interact with organizational culture that exists in our workplace, that will in turn, and this interaction, how this interaction influences workplace safety. So, the field of safety psychology examines questions such as why do some employees engage in unsafe behaviors? Why do some individuals are more accident prone than others? How does organizational culture influence safety outcomes? একটা এক্সাম্পল দিচ্ছি ছোট্ট করে এটা বোঝার জন্য, যে ইউ উইল সি দ্যাট উই হ্যাভ আ গ্রুপ অফ ফ্রেন্ডস, আমাদের অনেক বন্ধু বান্ধব আছে। তার মধ্যে থেকে একটা বন্ধু এরকম থাকবে যে ভীষণ ক্লামসি, হয়তো আলমারিতে ধাক্কা খেয়ে যায়, খাটের মধ্যে ধাক্কা খায়, হাঁটতে হাঁটতে পড়ে যায় হুট করে, ঠিক আছে, ভেরি ক্লামসি। সো আমরা এটাকে বলি টাইপ অফ অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট প্রোননেস। এই সিচুয়েশনটাকেই ইউ পুট ইট ইন আ অর্গানাইজেশনাল অর ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়াল এরিয়া, যেখানে দের আর পাওয়ার প্লান্টস, দের আর থার্মাল প্লান্টস, কেমিক্যাল প্লান্টস, ফ্যাক্টরি সেটিংস, ঠিক আছে, যেখানে অনেকগুলো মেশিনারি ইকুইপমেন্টস ইউজ হচ্ছে। সো এই ইকুইপমেন্টস, মেশিনারি অ্যান্ড হিউম্যানস, তাদের অ্যাটিটিউডস, বিহেভিয়ার্স, কগনিটিভ প্রসেসেস, হাউ দে কাম টুগেদার টু ইনফ্লুয়েন্স the workplace safety. That is what safety psychology studies. Okay, so safety psychology integrates knowledge from human factors engineering, organizational behavior, cognitive psychology, and risk perception research. So, in modern safety management, accidents are understood as a complex interaction between human behavior, technology, and organizational systems. So, this means that in today's world, what are accidents? Accidents are nothing but the result of complex interactions between the human behavior, technology, and organizational systems that are in place. Okay, I hope এতটুকু it's clear for everyone. And I would hope at least one person response, নাহলে আমি বুঝতে পারছি না তোমরা বুঝতে পারছো কিনা। I hope this is clear. If there is any doubt, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will be moving on to the second um, section বলতে পারো, that is organizational health in safety context. Assuming there are no questions. So now we move on to understand what is organizational health. Organizational health refers to the capacity of an organization to maintain a safe, productive, and a psychologically supportive work environment while adapting to internal and external challenges. Let me explain this with an example, maybe not of a power plant, but perhaps of an IT sector company. Okay. So IT sector companies are mother you will find some companies who have extremely employee friendly policies in place. You can take the break at any point of time. Tomar work from home will be granted. To me, you have a lot of games room. So in case you are having a tiring day, you can go there and rejuvenate. ঠিক আছে, they will have a extremely good canteen. The managerial posts are extremely friendly, so you can approach them whenever you want. So all these aspects lead to a good work environment. In comparison to this, there might be another office who have extremely strict employee policies that তোমাকে phone submit করে কাজে বসতে হবে। তোমার maybe break time is only 30 minutes, not more than that. You cannot go uh, take bathroom breaks for more than like 20 minutes throughout the whole day. Managerial posts দেরকে approach করা যায় না, leaves don't get approved, and হয়তো তোমাকে overtime work করতে হচ্ছে without the কি বলবো incentive of working overtime, without an increase in your salary, so extra work hours. So এই যে কম্প্যারিজনটা between a good work environment and a bad work environment, these lead to have an effect on the psychology of a person. ঠিক আছে, so organizational health সেই কোম্পানিরই ভালো হবে যেখানে there is a safe working environment, there is a productive work environment, মানে no matter what, how you are throughout your day, you know that তোমার work হয়ে গেলেই you can leave the office as long as you're being productive. Okay. And there's a psychologically supportive network of your supervisors, of your managers, of your co-workers. As long as these are in place, then আমরা বলতে পারি that organizational health is good. Okay. So organizational health in the context of organizational health basically is demonstrated by a few factors. Okay, I'll talk about the factors first, and then I will come to the different indicators of organizational health. Uh, it typically demonstrates good organizational health, typically demonstrates strong leadership that is committed to maintaining the safety standards, transparent communication between higher level authorities and employees, effective training programs. Whatever work is being assigned to you, you should be given proper training programs to understand how you can excel in that particular area. Supportive psychological climate, as I was saying, open communication with your supervisors, with your colleagues, with higher up um, chain individuals who are there, and one that has low accident and injury rates. Okay, so what there are three different types of indicators for organizational health. There are structural indicators, behavioral indicators, and psychological indicators. So first we'll see the structural indicators, which include safety policies, training programs, and safety management systems. Structural indicators are those that help you maintain the structure of the organization. Without proper safety policies, without proper training programs, and without safety management systems, there is no way a safe work environment can be granted. And as long as that is not granted, you will always be anxious যে আমার এখানে আহ লেগে গেলে আমার কি হবে, or what can be done যাতে আমার কোনো অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট ইনজুরি যাতে না হয়। ঠিক আছে, আমি হয়তো জানি না আমার কি কাজ করতে হবে, তো আমাকে একটা ডিপার্টমেন্টে ফেলে দিয়েছে। ওকে, সো সেফটি পলিসিস, training programs, and safety management systems are important in maintaining the structural integrity of the organization. So this we call as structural indicators. Next, we have the behavioral indicators that include compliance with safety procedures, hazard reporting, and participation in safety programs. So suppose ধরে নাও, again, just a hypothetical example, there is a power plant where power plant এর মধ্যে there are drills that are done, fire drill, তারপরে some maybe oil leak drill, কিছু একটা, there are different categories of these drills that can be conducted, and some employees don't take the drills seriously. Okay, so if they are not taking the drills seriously, they will lack the understanding of what to do when an actual incident happens. So participation in safety programs is very important, along with hazard reporting. আজকে if I see uh, equipment jamming, not working properly, I should be able to report that to my supervisors immediately. If I overlook on reporting that particular equipment jam, it can lead to some serious injury to some other colleague who might be working on that equipment day after tomorrow or later. So once the hazard reporting is successfully done, the supervisor is responsible for compliance with safety procedures. So in case the equipment jams, it is the duty of the authorities or the employees to look after and fix that equipment as soon as possible, ensuring that whatever safety procedures are in place, a compliance to that is being kept, যাতে nobody further gets hurt. So these are the three behavioral indicators that we have. And then we have psychological indicators, include safety attitudes, perceived management commitment, and psychological safety. If I am a risk taker, if I don't follow the rules properly, তার মানে I do not have a good safety attitude, because I am being a danger to myself and I am being a danger to the others around me. So I should be taking all the safety procedures and the safety measurements that are in place as diligently as possible. I have to have a commitment to the management, jate if anything is going wrong, I take it upon myself to report that. Okay. And along with that, I should have a psychological safety attitude in place. So these are the three different types of indicators that we have for organizational health. Just repeating once more: structural indicators, behavioral indicators, and psychological indicators. Now, age and psychological indicators, I mentioned safety attitude. What is safety attitude? So, safety attitude basically refers to the employee's beliefs, perceptions, and evaluations regarding the safety practices in workplace. Okay, so attitude, mane, we have already studied in psychology what it means. It is about the beliefs, the perception that an individual has regarding an subject or an object. So over here, safety attitude refers to the employee's beliefs, perception, and evaluations regarding the safety practices that are in place at his work. So it reflects certain components, which include safety rules, management's commitment to safety, risk-taking behavior, and safety training. And usually, you will see that a safety attitude is a strong predictor of safety compliance and safety participation. যত high safety attitude থাকবে, you are more likely to be compliant of the safety procedures that are in place, and you will be more likely to participate in any kind of safety programs or safety training programs that take place in your workplace. So again, there are three dimensions of safety attitude, which include the cognitive component, affective component, and behavioral component. Cognitive componenটের মধ্যে we have beliefs about the importance of safety. Okay. Suppose I feel that following safety procedures is essential for preventing accidents. That is a component of cognitive um, aspect of safety that I have. Okay. Next, for example, if I say that I am feeling confident about the safety protocols that are in place, this is an example of the affective component. Affective component deals with emotional reactions that you have towards different safety practices. And then lastly, we have the behavioral component, which is related to the actions that we take to towards safety behavior. So, for example, if I am using protective equipment by reporting the hazards, all those are behavioral components. If you remember, during COVID, the doctors were wearing PPE kits. Okay, just to stop themselves from being affected when they are dealing with so many COVID patients. During COVID, also, there were some people who were wearing 2 layers of masks in their face, while there were some, they were like, no, COVID does not exist. I will not wear masks. I will just leave my house, roam around, and come back. So, a person who's wearing mask has a good safety attitude, high safety attitude. Whereas a person who's not wearing the mask and just roaming about freely, we can say that that person has low safety attitude. So, since the safety attitude is low, his safety compliance and safety participation will also be low. Okay. So this is just a very simple example for you to understand what is safety attitude and how it is linked with safety compliance and safety participation. Then we go on to understand how do we go about measuring safety attitudes. Again, as in psychology, there are standardized questionnaires through which we can assess safety attitudes. There is safety climate questionnaire, safety attitude scales, organizational safety cultural surveys, and usually all of these attitude scales, since they measure attitude, they are based on the Likert scale. So 5-point Likert scale, strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. So these tools help us in understanding the perception of safety culture within the organizations. I hope everything till this point is clear. Acha, okay, Rima ma'am, thank you for the feedback. Um, I hope till now there are no questions. I'll give you 2 minutes to ask any doubts that you might have. After that, we will be moving on to accident proneness.
বুঝতে পেরেছি ম্যাম, অসুবিধা নেই।
ওকে ওকে, ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ। হ্যাঁ, সো মুভিং অন টু অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট প্রোননেস। এই যে আমি ক্লামজি বন্ধুর কথা বলছিলাম, যারা কিছু একটা হলেই গায়ে কালশিটে পড়ে যায়, হুট করে লেগে যায়, কেটে যায়, ওরা জানে না কোথা থেকে কাটছে, বা রাস্তায় হাঁটতে হাঁটতে, ফ্ল্যাট রাস্তায় হাঁটতে হাঁটতে পড়ে গেল হুট করে। সো এদেরকে আমরা ইউজুয়ালি ইন কলোকিয়াল টার্মস বলি ক্লামজি, ঠিক আছে, লাইক আ বুল ইন আ চাইনা শপ। কিন্তু এটা যখন একটা অর্গানাইজেশনালের দিকে আমরা ফোকাস করছি, উই ইউজ দ্য টার্ম অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট প্রোননেস, ঠিক আছে। সো অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট প্রোননেস refers to the tendency of certain individuals to experience accidents more frequently than others. Okay. Historically, research also suggests that some individuals possess traits that increase accident likelihood. Okay. So, historically তো অনেক কিছুই বলা হয়, বাট মডার্ন রিসার্চ কি সাজেস্ট করে, উইল ফোকাস অন দ্যাট। ওকে, so modern research suggests that accident proneness results from multiple interacting factors, including individual factors, organizational factors, and environmental factors. আচ্ছা, individual factors কি? Individual factors include personality traits, risk perception, impulsivity, and fatigue. Okay. Organizational factors include safety climate, workload, and supervision. Whereas environmental factors include workplace hazards, equipment design, and physical environment. So let us understand all these points একটু in detail. Okay. Individual factors, say I had mentioned personality traits. So, individual characteristics basically influence how people perceive risk, make decisions, and respond to hazardous situations. Okay, so in personality traits, some personality traits are linked with higher accident risk. What are these personality traits? For example, sensation seeking jara hoy, tendency to pursue exciting or risky activities. দেখবে there are some people who are so adventurous, they will do everything that is possible to get that adrenaline rush. Bungee jumping, তারপরে sky diving, okay, maybe skiing, ঠিক আছে, a lot of high risky sports they will indulge themselves in. So that is sensation seeking personality. Then there is low conscientiousness. নিও ফাইভের একটা ফ্যাক্টর, conscientiousness. So if it's low, that means that there is reduced adherence to rules and procedures. Rules and procedures are kept in place to make you safe. So if you don't follow rules and procedures, as I was saying earlier, you're bound to make mistakes and become an danger to yourself and others. Okay. And then there is obviously aggressiveness and hostility, which may lead to a lot of careless or impulsive behaviors. Okay, so individuals with high sensation seeking tendencies may underestimate risks and engage in unsafe behaviors, while people with low conscientiousness may not follow the rules and procedures at all that are kept in place to make them safe in the very first place. Okay. That was personality traits. Next, we have under individual factors is risk perception. Risk perception basically refers to how individuals interpret the likelihood and severity of hazards. Okay, I'll give you an example. During earthquakes, there was a recent one, a very strong earthquake. There are people who will rush out of the building immediately. Okay, and I know of a person when there was an earthquake, he was like যে just বাড়িতে শুয়ে থাক কিছু হবে না. So it is about how you perceive the likelihood and the severity of the disasters. That is your risk perception. People who run out of their houses will have a good risk perception, whereas people who do nothing when there are hazards taking place, they have a low or bad risk perception. So, workers who underestimate risk may ignore warning signals, okay, fail to use protective equipments, and take shortcuts during hazardous tasks or dangerous tasks. So, risk perception is usually influenced by previous experience, training, organizational safety culture, and cognitive biases. So, suppose, for example, repeated exposure to minor incidents without consequences may create a normalization of risk. Okay, where workers begin to perceive dangerous situations as routine. মানে কি দাঁড়াচ্ছে যে ধরে নাও হয়তো একটা এমপ্লয়ি বারবার কোনো একটা ছোট ছোট ইনসিডেন্ট হতেই থাকছে কিন্তু সেটার কোনো কনসিকোয়েন্স মেজর কনসিকোয়েন্স হচ্ছে না এই এই যে প্রিভিয়াস এক্সপিরিয়েন্সটা না leads to a attitude that says that this is normal. এইটুখানি রিস্ক তো সব কাজেই থাকে. So there is normalization of risk. যেখানে workers begin to think that এই সিচুয়েশনটা ইজ একেবারে রুটিন. এইটা দিয়ে অন্য কিছু বড় হতে পারে না. আমি তো এতবার করে দেখে এসেছি কোনো কিছুই হয়নি আর একটু এঙ্গেজ করে নি. ঠিক আছে, সো দিস ইজ ওয়ে risk perceptionটা is being influenced. Next, under the individual factors, we have impulsivity. Impulsivity তে কি হচ্ছে? Impulsivity is basically acting quickly without careful consideration of the consequences. আমরা অনেকেই অনেক সময় impulsive actions করে থাকি. Patience কম থাকে, impulsively কোনো কাজ করে ফেলি. ঠিক আছে? But what happens when workers indulge in impulsive behaviors, which may include skipping safety checks, ignoring safety protocols, react quickly in emergencies without evaluating the risk. Okay, so impulsivity is particularly dangerous in high risk environment such as chemical plants, electrical maintenance, and heavy machinery operation, where rapid decisions can have severe consequences. Okay, so you have to be very careful in evaluating the consequence of each decision that you take. Only then can impulsivity can be kept in check. Next, we have fatigue, the last individual factor. So, but you understand that fatigue plays a major role in workplace accidents. Okay, এরকমও হয়ে থাকে যে হয়তো কথার কথা বলছি, maybe you're so tired from all the work that you're doing. When you are coming back at home and cooking, maybe you miss adding salt or sugar to the food because you are that tired. So this is just a normal, a very minute example of what fatigue can lead to. Now suppose, ধরে নাও, this fatigue can be seen in railway workers or airplane pilots who have repeated schedules continuously. That will include an increase in train accidents, in flight accidents that take place. In fact, a study was also conducted why suddenly Indian railways এত accidents বেড়ে গেছে. It is because of shortage of employees. যতটুকু এমপ্লয়িজ আছে তাদেরকেই বারবার শিফট দেওয়া হচ্ছে, সে কারণের জন্য দে আর আন্ডার ফাটিগ. They cannot cope up with the demands of the job in all the shifts that they are doing. Okay, so fatigue is a major contribution to workplace accidents and is often associated with long working hours, shift work, sleep deprivation, and high workload. And it reduces attention concentration, reaction time, and decision making ability. Even research has went to an extent to suggest that fatigue can impair cognitive functioning to a degree comparable to alcohol intoxication. মানে আমরা যখন অ্যালকোহল যখন ইনটেক করি তখন আমাদের যে ডিসিশন মেকিং ক্যাপাসিটিতে যে এফেক্টটা পড়ে, দ্যাট ইজ অলমোস্ট ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট টু দ্য cognitive impairment that is caused by fatigue. So you can understand how much risky it becomes when you are involved in tasks that include machine operation or in a heavy equipment. Okay. Next, we are moving on to organizational factors. Organizational factors in mode I had mentioned safety climate, workload, and supervision quality. So organizational structures, policies, and culture play a crucial role in shaping employee behavior and safety outcomes. So, the very first, foremost organizational factor that we have is safety climate. Safety climate key. Safety climate refers to employees' shared perception of how much the organization values safety. Okay, just a minute. Sorry. So, safety climate refers to an employee's shared perceptions of how the organization values safety. A strong safety climate will include a visible management commitment to safety, as in the management takes puts great value on safety, open communication about hazards, encouragement of incident reporting, consistent enforcement of safety rules. When employees perceive that the management prioritizes production over safety, they may feel pressured to take shortcuts and ignore safety procedures. মানে কি, যে আজকে যদি আমি দেখছি যে অর্গানাইজেশন বলছে নাকি যে যেভাবেই হোক তুমি 500টা ইউনিট এটা প্রডিউস করো, and whereas your normal capacity when maintaining safety protocols is maybe 350. So to ensure that you produce 500 units of an item, you will be foregoing all kinds of safety protocols and taking shortcuts. যে কারণের জন্য তোমার রিস্ক ফ্যাক্টরটাও, অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট রিস্ক also gets increased. Okay. This leads us to our next factor, that is workload. High workload can obviously significantly increase accident risk. ওয়ার্কলোড কি কি কারণের জন্য কি 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 লিড করতে পারে? টাইম প্রেশার, mental fatigue, and reduced attention to safety procedures. So again, as I was saying in the previous example, that workers under heavy workload may prioritize task completion over safety compliance. Okay, especially where an organizational rewards productivity more than safety. ঠিক আছে, so safety climate and workload is sort of interlinked. Along with that, we have supervision quality. Supervision quality is basically a key factor in maintaining safety standards. আজকে if my manager is effectively supervising the floor and ensuring that all safety procedures are followed, then my safety standards of my organization will be maintained. But what happens when there is poor supervision? There is lack of enforcement of safety procedures. There is inadequate monitoring of hazardous activities, and there is delayed identification of unsafe conditions. যেটা আগেও আমি বলছিলাম যে যদি কোনো ইকুইপমেন্ট খারাপ হয়ে যায় সেটা যদি কারোর চোখে যদি না পড়ে তাহলে কিন্তু আনসেফ কন্ডিশনটা ইনক্রিজ করে দেয় the likelihood of an accident later on. Okay, so usually supervisors play an important role in reinforcing safety behavior and correcting unsafe practices before any accidents occur. Lastly, we are moving on to the environmental factors that exist. Physical environment and equipment design strongly influence the likelihood of accidents. So, under environmental factors, I had mentioned workplace hazards, equipment design, and physical environment. So, for the very first, workplace hazards, what are workplace hazards? They are basically, they include, for example, chemical exposure, electrical risk, তারপর moving machinery, okay, slippery surfaces. All these create an unsafe working condition, okay. Even highly trained workers can experience accidents if the hazards are not controlled properly, okay. So effective hazard management ki risk assessment, engineering controls, safety procedures, and personal protective equipments. So basically, when you are handling electrical wires, okay, you should be wearing proper protective equipment. Gloves hote pare, ba you may be wearing wood slippers, যাতে the electrical conduction gets stopped. Okay. So if there are chemical exposures, if you're dealing with chemicals, you should be having proper masks in place. So these are different kinds of personal protective equipment. যেটাকে আমরা PPE বলি। যেটা আমি আমার কোভিড ডক্টরস এর এক্সাম্পলও আমি বললাম। ঠিক আছে? রিস্ক অ্যাসেসমেন্ট would be যে আজকে যদি এইখানে আমি ইলেকট্রিক্যাল প্লাগ পয়েন্ট করি, what are the risks of that if by chance that fails? Okay. Engineering control is like if suppose this slipper যদি surface যদি slippery হয়ে যায়, what can be done to ensure that the surface stays dry at all times? Okay, like a proper drainage facility or mopping the floors daily at a timely schedule. Okay, so these are basically methods to manage hazards. Next, we have equipment design. I have been saying this in a lot of examples that if equipments are faulty, they increase the risk of accidents. So, examples of faulty equipment or bad designs of equipments would properly include complex control systems, যেটা লোকেদের বুঝতে সুবিধা হয় না. People have trouble understanding it. Poorly labeled switches. Each and every equipment is designed with proper labels. If the labels don't exist, a person who is working for the very first time on that equipment will not understand what each button or each part of the equipment does. So it needs to be properly labeled. Okay. Lack of safety guards, proper guards should be in place for any sort of equipment. You know, suddenly যদি কিছু হয়েও যায়, what can be done to stop it? And then there is inadequate warning systems. So if suppose there is a leak and the warning system is not working properly, then obviously all the workers in the plant are in danger. So the warning systems have to be in place for them, uh, for them to make an impact on the safety of the employees. So human factors emphasizes on designing equipment that matches the human cognitive and physical capabilities. So if by chance it does not match the cognitive capabilities and the physical capabilities, then there will be a faulty interaction between the equipment and the humans. And since humans are the ones who operate the equipment, there is a higher likelihood of an operator error, thus leading to future accidents. Okay. And lastly, we have physical environment. These are basically environmental conditions that influence worker safety. So important factors include lighting, noise levels, temperature, workspace layout. এগুলো আমরা মাঝে মধ্যে আমাদের সাইকোলজিক্যাল রিসার্চের মধ্যেও we try and keep it constant ছোটবেলায় যখন আমরা প্র্যাকটিক্যালস যখন করতাম। ওকে, so suppose for example poor lighting may reduce visibility of hazards, high noise levels may prevent workers from hearing warning signals. Okay, and extreme temperatures may contribute to fatigue and reduced concentration. Okay. So now I'll just give an example of how these three factors, individual, organizational, and environmental conditions, interact between each other. Okay. So for example, a worker is experiencing fatigue, which is an individual factor. And that person may make an error while operating a poorly designed machinery. Okay. Which is again an environmental factor. In a workplace where safety supervision is weak, an organizational factor. So this interaction increases the probability of accident. Okay, I'll explain this in Bengali once more. ধরে নাও একটা এমপ্লয়ি যে বেশ কয়েকদিন ঠিক করে ঘুমায়নি, মারাত্মক টায়ার্ড হয়ে আছে, ঠিক আছে, which is an individual factor uh, among the factors of accident proneness, ঠিক আছে, যেহেতু সে টায়ার্ড আর স্লিপ ডিপ্রাইভড, একটা মেশিনারি কাজ করাতে গিয়ে ও একটা ভুল করলো, সরি ভুল করলো না, একটা পুয়ার মেশিনারিটাকে ডিল করছে ও, যেখানে তার ওয়ার্ক প্লেস সুপারভিশনটা কিন্তু উইক, মানে সুপারভাইজার ঠিক করে ওয়ার্ক প্লেস সেফটিটাকে দেখছে না, তাহলে আমার পুয়ার মেশিনারিটা হলো একটা এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ফ্যাক্টর, আর আমার যে সুপারভিশন লো, দ্যাট ইজ অ্যান অর্গানাইজেশনাল ফ্যাক্টর। সো দিস ইজ হাউ all the three factors come together to interact and increase the likelihood of an accident. ঠিক আছে, এই যে মাল্টি লেভেল ইন্টারাকশনস আমাদের আছে, these are usually focused on systems theory that we will be learning, I think, in the next class, and the socio-technical models of accident causation. So, egulo is involved in these kind of theory or models that exist. Okay. এবার I'll just touch upon the statistical analysis and safety psychology. So statistical analysis আমাদের এখানে কি করে হেল্প করে in safety psychology? Okay, statistical analysis helps the researchers to understand the relationships between safety attitudes and accident rates, organizational factors influencing the safety outcomes, and the effectiveness of safety interventions via pre-test post-test methods. Okay, so আমরা common analysis কি কি use করি? We use chi-square test, regression, and data visualization. Data visualization, I hope I don't have to say much, because all throughout in all Jamovi classes we have been focusing on data visualization with bar chart, scatter plot, histogram, pie chart. So I hope you have gained some knowledge on data visualization regarding that, but I will touch upon chi-square and regression analysis. So chi-square is used to examine associations between categorical variables. ঠিক আছে, সাপোজ ট্রেনিং রিসিভ করেছে কিনা একটা গ্রুপ, অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট হয়েছে কি হয়নি, It's yes or no. So it's categorical variables. Okay. So research question hote pare hoyto, is accident occurrence associated with worker experience? Does safety training influence accident frequency? Okay. So using chi-square, we can test whether the training and accident occurrence are independent or not. ঠিক আছে? So if a chi-square test is statistically significant, it suggests that training status and accident occurrence are associated, and this in turn may help us evaluate safety training effectiveness. Okay. And lastly, we have regression analysis, which এখানে regression analysis এ আমরা what do? We try and examine relationships between variables and predict outcomes. So if I say, suppose, does safety attitude predict accident rates? Okay. I can have my dependent variable as accident frequency, and my independent variables I can keep more than one. So, like safety attitude score, work experience, training hours. So, suppose the regression output usually provides beta coefficients that are the strength of the predictors, significance values, and explained variance. So if the safety attitude significantly predicts accidents, organization can in turn focus on attitude change interventions. So that would help them bring about a change in the number of accidents that take place. Okay, I think with this, I have covered for today's class. If you have any other question, please feel free to ask. I assume আর কোনো question নেই. Farah ma'am, I think sir has left.
Yes, ma'am. Sir is not here.
হ্যাঁ, so এক মিনিট আমি স্যারকে তাহলে ফোন করে নি. ঠিক আছে, তারপরে দেখছি. আর আই হোপ বাকিদের কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন নেই. কোয়েশ্চেন থাকলে কিন্তু করতে পারো.
আমাকে আরেকবার শুনে নিয়ে তারপরে দেখতে হবে ম্যাম, যদি কোয়েশ্চেন থাকে করবো পরে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ইউটিউব ভিডিওটা একবার দেখে নিও. আজকে আমরা সেফটি সাইকোলজি নিয়ে পড়েছি. ঠিক আছে,
হ্যাঁ
যদি
ম্যাম
কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন
আমিও,
থাকে.
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম আমিও দেখে নিই, তাহলে নেক্সট ক্লাসে জিজ্ঞেস করবো।
ওকে ওকে, ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমি একটু স্যারকে ডেকে নিচ্ছি. ঠিক আছে.
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
না রিমা ম্যাম অ্যাজ সাচ কোনো লিমিটেশন নেই। সেফটি সাইকোলজিতে একটা ব্রাঞ্চ তো তো ওরকম ভাবে কোনো লিমিটেশন নেই, কয়েকটা থিওরিজ আছে। আই থিঙ্ক আমরা আরেকটা ক্লাস পাবো ফর সেফটি সাইকোলজি, আমি একবার দেখে নিচ্ছি। সো সেই ক্লাসের মধ্যে আই ক্যান টক অ্যাবাউট দ্য থিওরিজ। এক মিনিট আমি দেখে নিচ্ছি। আচ্ছা না, আরেকটা ক্লাস পাবো না, বাট আমি ছোট্ট করে সবকটা থিওরিজ আমি আমার নোটের মধ্যে ইনক্লুড করে দেবো। তো আই উড সাজেস্ট একবার অ্যাটলিস্ট নোটটা তোমরা দেখে নিও, তো তারপর যদি কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন থাকে আমি ডেফিনেটলি অ্যাড্রেস করবো সেইগুলোকে। বাট খুব ইজি থিওরিজ আছে, নট টু কমপ্লেক্স, সো আই হোপ বুঝতে কোনো অসুবিধা হবে না। তো থিওরিজ এর মধ্যে কয়েকটা লিমিটেশন থাকতে পারে রিমা ম্যাম, বাট অ্যাজ আ ব্রাঞ্চ অফ সাইকোলজি, সেফটি সাইকোলজিতে অ্যাজ সাচ কোনো লিমিটেশন ওরকম ভাবে নেই। ঠিক আছে। So I am ending the class here for the time being. Sir has asked me to end the class. Okay. So thank